Let it go to my head. Since it is 5:30, I will go ahead and call the meeting of the New Palestine Redevelopment Commission to order. I appreciate everyone's patience because I'm filling in the role of president today. We will start our meeting with roll call. Brenda?
Okay, Bill Niemeyer.
Here.
Mark Looney.
Here.
Rachel Strong.
Here.
Russell Smathers.
Here.
Lisa Lantrip.
Here.
And Steve Rainey is absent.
Our first agenda item today is approval of the August 3rd, 2022 RDC minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look over those? Any comments or concerns? If so, can I get a motion for approval?
I'll motion for approval of minutes.
I'll second it.
Second it. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Alrighty. Since there are no new agenda items and no old business items on the agenda, we'll move on to new business. And our first item is to conduct a public hearing on the economic development plan. We have Brian, would you like to start? Brian Bosma, who's the town's bond counsel, would like to start with some comments.
Thank you, Madam President. Brian Bosma with Kroger Artis Rigas, LLP, chair of the municipal practice group and your bond counsel for this transaction. So there are three, first of all, the public hearing that's about to be conducted has been publicly noticed in your local paper. Delivery of a tax impact statement was made to every underlying taxing unit that would be impacted by the establishment of the allocation area. The fiscal impact showed no impact because we're actually just reestablishing a different allocation area in an existing one. So there's no additional impact whatsoever. Notice was also given to all departments of the town government and boards that had anything to do with development, planning, zoning, and we have a certificate of your treasurer to that effect. So tonight, the first resolution you will consider after the public hearing, which is 100522A, will be a confirmatory resolution that confirms the resolution that you adopted back in August 3rd, changing the economic development plan, or amending the economic development plan, establishing the new allocation area, and approving the COVID development project, the 282 unit project. That declaratory resolution was approved as to content of the plan by your plan commission, subsequently approved by the council as is required by statute. So this is the last step in that process of establishing the area and approving a new economic development plan that includes the COVID project. Resolution B is a pledge of the tax increment that will be created by the COVID project to bonds that will be considered by the Economic Development Commission and the council tonight following this meeting. And it has attached to it a pledge agreement between the Redevelopment Commission and the town that says when we receive this tax increment, we're going to pay the bonds that the town is going to issue. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. I may add one more item. I was told that there was some question about whether tax increment could be used for this purpose. If they asked that question, I'll answer it in advance. I actually have with me a copy, if you care to have it, of the statute that provides what tax increment can be used for. The very first item on that list is to pay the principal of and interest on any obligations payable solely from allocated tax proceeds, which the proposed bonds are, which are incurred by the redevelopment district for the purpose of financing or refinancing the redevelopment of that allocation area. It's not limited to just public improvements or publicly owned improvements. So happy to answer any questions. I'll be here the rest of the evening to make that happen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there others who wish to speak?
Anybody else for? I don't want to go before the board.
Would you start by, okay, thank you.
My name's Dale Wagner. Dale Wagner. I'm at 4462 South 600 West. So I'm obviously I bought the apartments 2 years ago, so that's not what this is about. It's not about whether or not we have apartments. It's about whether or not we do a TIF for $5 million. One of the things that came up in my research and looking at this is a thing called a but-for test. And some of the documentation that I've seen that's been floated around by Cronin Associates, they say but for this TIF, the COVID would not build these apartments in New Valley. That's not what the but-for test says. The but-for test says but for this TIF, that land would not be developed. So there's kind of a difference there, and I just want to make that clear, because this is not about a developer saying, if I don't get the money, I'm not going to build there. So I'm holding wine, so I'll just hold these. So the first part of this is this Indiana Code 36714 is the primary statute governing TIFs in Indiana. Section 2 specifies that the redevelopment is for public uses and purposes. I've got another page, and this is all off the Indiana side. This is the uses of the TIF proceeds: to pay expenses of redevelopment commission for the public improvements, pay the principal and interest on bonds and leases, roads, streets, sidewalks, access to new development, construction of water and sewer lines, acquisition of real estate, parking facilities, street lighting. And so these are all the public uses. Nowhere in there does it say to build apartments. In some of the documentation that you are looking at, there are these Indiana codes in there, and some of them I've looked up. The one was a declaration of public purpose, and I highlighted a few things in here: the financing of single identified economic development that promote a substantial likelihood of creating or retaining opportunities for gainful employment, creating business opportunities that serve a public purpose and will be benefit to the health or general welfare of the unit, meaning the town, or that allocation area. On the one that's being considered tonight by the Economic Development is Resolution 100522C, and in this it says that the amount not to exceed $5 million, and to use the proceeds therefore to finance a portion of the cost of the acquisition, construction, and installation of the project, which is the apartments. So these are documents from the Economic Development Plan for the COVID TIF. This was from the Hancock Wellness Center TIF, and I just wanted to show some differences in these two. This one, under the project description, says to assist the developer by providing a portion of the cost of the project allocable to the acquisition, development, and construction of the improvements. And then it says that the project will create 10 permanent jobs. So out of this, that's the one thing that benefits the public, is it's going to create 10 jobs.
30 temporary jobs.
That's the building. 10 permanent jobs. 10 permanent full-time jobs. And it's an apartment. In 25 years, there will be 10 permanent full-time jobs, unless technology eliminates them. So $61 million, $6.1 million per job. I think I could generate a lot more jobs than that for that kind of money. in the Hancock Wellness Center tip, this one's quite a bit different than the things that are specified in here. One, it creates 100 jobs. It says, and I thought this was kind of interesting because it says, the company shall be responsible for all costs of constructing, operating, and maintaining the project, including any customer-focused or community-focused portions thereof that are available for general public use. Then you go to Exhibit A, and this talks about those community-focused amenities, and it says, the project will also include a multi-purpose community center, a corresponding walking trails, basketball courts, public ball courts, and the community-focused amenities. These are all things that are supposed to be over there for general public use. There's basketball courts, if you get a membership, you can go inside. But a lot of those amenities, those pickleball courts were planned for outside. Those were things that you all had in all this documentation back with the Hancock Wellness Center. Never got done. And I don't believe at this time there's any plan to do it. In this one, I sent a FOIA request to the town for some documents. Some of these, the first two documents I'm going to talk about is confirmation of bond illustration and proposed financial plan by the financial advisor. And this was copied from the timeline that the town provided. These aren't my words. Documentation from Crone justifying this, I take that back, this is my words. Documentation from Crone justifying the $5 million request or not. So if the $5 million is being given back to them to pay for things that are public uses, such things maybe sewers, fire hydrants, whatever, then I understand it. This was the justification. It had project funds, $4,100,000. Capitalized interest over 3 years, $787,000. Insurance costs $100,000, or issuance costs $100,000, for the total of $5 million. There's nothing on here that's specifying what this is going to. Nothing. There was talk early on in the whole discussion about, now we have to put in a $1.6 million sewage pump that the town wants. I asked for documentation on that, and the reply to that one was the correspondence reference in item 4 between the town and the developer was oral. So we trust the public just to put in the right pump for $5 million, $1.6 million pump. I'm sure you all saw these documents. I believe this one may have come from your training session on TIFs, which was done by was done by Crone and Associates. This is one that he did on for a presentation to the town council on March 7th. And it's all basically the same documentation. Really, it's kind of a fluff piece about, blah, blah, pretty pictures. But I hate kind of boilerplate documents, but that is a lot of what this is. And then to finish, I have one statement. At one of the meetings, town resident Jake Gumbert's, and this was a quote, "The town doesn't really need this, they need the town." And I think we need to remember that. For us to be giving away $5 million over 25 years to get, what are we getting, guys? $100,000 a year? Is that our cut? 25%? We get $100,000. Anybody done the math on that?
It's 167,000 is what I've seen.
A year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's not for public use. It says it's for the health of the town and all of that. I don't see that. It's all boilerplate answers. If you look at the old documents, the answers are all the same. I don't know if y'all actually wrote any of the documents, or if you're just being handed them and you're reading them and voting.
Do we have anybody from the COVID here tonight?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dale.
Well, yes.
He made a mention of the pump station being an oral agreement. Is that not in writing?
I don't know that we have anything in writing. I think this part of our deal here becomes writing. It's in our development agreement draft, yeah. And it will have details and time for permitting once it's fully designed, so it's not a formal.
If I may, I helped with the town's response to Dale's public records request. The conversation between the town and the developer was oral. It is in the development agreement, though, that it will be developed.
Yeah, the engineering details are not in the development agreement. We're going to leave that to the city to work out with the developer, and you'll have to go through a permitting process.
Right.
To be built.
Yeah, we haven't fully designed it, taken it all the way to blueprints or construction documents for the entirety of the development, at which time we will submit, we'll get permitting and approvals for permitting to start.
Dale, back to what you made a mention of, $61 million for 10 jobs. What about bringing, my question to you is about a place for people to live. The same thing what they did up over here off of Bittner and 400. People own those. I can't tell you the name of the area, but they brought it in for empty nesters or people who didn't want to have to deal with the outside and work with that in the same way the apartments are. 200 and, was it 80?
82.
Yeah, apartments coming in, bringing people into the town and kids into the town to go to the schools to build up. You're asking, and you're just saying $61 million for 10 jobs, but at the same time, you're bringing in all those families into the town so it can grow bigger. What's your, do you have an answer? I mean, do you have a reply to that?
I'm not saying we don't, the apartment's already approved. The question now is the developer came back and said, I need a $5 million tip in order to build it, after it was approved.
But are they not also paying that back? I know you're saying over the years, you're saying they're paying interest, they're paying the town for the use of those funds, they're gonna be selling the bonds. I'm not understanding where your question is as far as they're asking for $5 million to get things started. But at the same time, you're saying, why are we giving them $5 million? But to me, we're not giving it to them. They're bonding that. They're paying it back over that period of time. And
All of that money is property tax money that's being taken from the other entities. So the RDC captures all of that money, and they take 75% of it and pay it on the bonds.
right, that the COVID is paying.
No. The COVID paid the property taxes, and probably gets to take a credit on having paid property taxes. The town, the RDC pays the 75% back onto the bond.
Once all that's handed, yes, but who's that come from? You're saying tax? You said-
Originally, it came from the COVID, but COVID had to pay it, it's property taxes, they had to pay it.
Right. But again, it's still coming back. It's okay.
You're capturing 100% of the property taxes other than the incremental value, whatever they call it. So the
What?
RDC is capturing all of it before any of it goes
Oh.
to Greenfield or the state or anybody else.
Of the $5 million.
You know, of what they pay each year, whatever
That's right,
amount they
because of the
pay.
development. That's right.
2%
My
of
mistake.
$31 million.
I made that mistake before. Yeah.
So
So,
2% of $31 million, which is what they say the value of property is going to be.
okay.
So you're out 2% of that, that's what the RDC is gonna get, and they're gonna take 75% and pay down the bonds over 25 years.
Right. And it could be paid off a lot sooner than the 25 years. But even though I'm not sure the time frame there, but I know there was a comment that I read about that it could be paid sooner, depending on how it is, so. I guess we had to, I know Lisa asked the same thing when we went with the wellness center. It's, you know, you're taking this and putting it here, and we're losing that. I know it's kind of a back and forth. I know she recommended some abatement. Yeah. So.
The wellness center, to me, the wellness center, the hospital came in and bought all the property.
Right.
They put in all the roads, they put in all the sewers, they put in all the water, they put in all the street lighting. And for that, they got $7.2 million.
Okay.
To put in all that infrastructure, which now the public uses.
Right.
What are the apartments doing for $5 million? What are they paying for? And it's not detailed. If you want to come back and tell the public, you want to tell the people that, oh, that $5 million is going to go for this sewage pump and these particular things, that's not what you're telling us. You're telling us it's for the acquisition, the project, all that.
Yeah, they made the comment for the engineering, for the details to be worked out, for the paperwork, the legal, something has to happen there up front in order for things to happen. And what you're asking is the COVID foot the bill all on their own without any assistance. And in the same way, I don't know, this is me commenting, I don't know 100% if I'm right, but in the same way the wellness center was saying, hey, we've got this, we're doing this, their legal work was also included in the paperwork. So I think, I'm not 100% sure of all what's not on paper yet, the development, what have you, but money needs to come from somewhere, and they're asking for that up front in order to be able to develop the rest. We've seen the...
money for what? $5 million for what? That's what I'm asking.
well, again, they
What's
talked...
$5 million?
The pump was for one thing, which it's going to benefit the town in the long run for the development out farther on 52. That's over 20% of it. That's darn near 30%, a little, well, 30, yeah, right, 30% of that. The rest of it, obviously, I mean, nothing's cheap, especially now with inflation.
I can comment, maybe, Fred, that all of it allows us to use the funds for anything other than just public infrastructure, but if we're just looking at infrastructure for the project, it might help, Fred, and this is subject to change as we finish plans, get new pricing. But before that, I want to make sure that we view this as a partnership, a public-private partnership. There was a PUD put in place for a first-class, multifamily community that you guys have set design standards for, that we want to own, that you want in your community. And so we want to help create that, bring it to reality. It creates a bigger tax increment so that we will be sharing in, and bonds will be issued. The COVID will buy his own bonds with his money, and then they'll be serviced with tax dollars that are created once the development is in place and operational. So when this $5 billion, where could it be placed? Here are some things that would be infrastructure in nature, not limited to, but the pad development, pond constructions, the clay liners, concrete curbs, asphalt paving, fitness trails, asphalt to fitness trails, concrete walks, landscaping and irrigation, storm, sewer, structure, manholes, domestic water, sanitary sewer, the regional lift stations we've mentioned, sanitary structures. Although it's a beautiful site, it's not shovel-ready, so there'll be a lot of dollars that need to be invested in to get the pad ready. Does that help?
Some of those items are valid, and that's what I'm asking for. What are we spending this $5 million on?
Okay.
You know, if you're telling me it's asphalt to make a parking lot, no, that doesn't qualify. Siding on the building doesn't qualify. I don't care what the PUD says. If
3, 6, 7, 12, 18, it could be that it is being loaned to the developer for any purpose to enhance their project.
Well, and because we're still in the public hearing, you know, this has been an issue that's before the redevelopment commission, the town council. You know, we've had a lot of public input. And, you know, something that is so impressive to me was when we had the two young gentlemen who came in here, and we heard from a housing expert, but the two young gentlemen who said, look, one of them lives in his mom's basement, and all of his friends live in apartments in Indianapolis because there are no apartments here. And so it's a talent retention. It's the brain drain, you know, stop that, you know, you don't have to live in Marion County. There are no other places, or at least not adequate availability for living options for people who, you know, aren't in a position yet in life that they can afford a $500,000 house. So, you know, to
Well, and-
me, the public benefit is there.
Well, and on the other end of that, I've talked to several people recently, my age, who have aging parents who are trying to get out of a house and into some kind of, you know, where they don't have to take care of the outside of a house, and being able to be in New Pal, keep our kids in New Pal schools, and have our parents close enough by that we can take care of them is also something I know people in my age group are looking. They see it as a benefit.
Right.
I will
So
say that
the
I've talked to
need
multiple
is there.
people who have said
Absolutely.
that.
Well, and then, because Dale mentioned, you know, and talked a lot about the bond project, and I wasn't on the council at the time, so I don't know if it was a $7.2 million bond. I don't know the amount, but I think whatever the number, it was a bigger bond project for the wellness center than is what is being requested for the apartments. And the redevelopment commission captures an agreed flat fee of $50,000 for the wellness center. This particular project is a lower bond amount, and the redevelopment commission will receive $167,000 a year, which together with the $50,000 from the wellness center, that gives us a base that we can use. And I've said this 100 times, and I don't think that I'm the only one in town that's in favor of it. We need a sidewalk system that goes from one end of town all the way out to the gas station, all the way out to the wellness center, and to the schools. So, you know,
And the library.
this is the funding where we can put things like that in that are absolutely 1,000,000% for the public benefit. So, you know, one more reason, besides everything that's been stated, that me personally, I'm in favor of this project, is it gives the redevelopment commission the ability to make meaningful public improvements that without projects like this, we're not able to. And if you look at other surrounding towns and cities, you know, Zionsville, Westfield, Carmel, they are years and years and years ahead of us in TIF funding projects to the level that they can build a transportation system for the school corporation, that they can donate $1 million for this project or that project. We're a long way from that, but it all starts one step at a time. And so, you know, is this project, is there enough public benefit? Absolutely, yes, in my opinion. So I just wanted to mention that while we're still in the public hearing stage.
Madam President, just as a point of order, if there's no other public comment, it didn't seem like there was, I would, or if there was.
I would have-
like this, as far as the two boys that spoke at the other meeting, this is not about whether or not we have apartments. That's a done deal. You know, the apartments are approved. What this is about is whether or not we approve this.
Is there anyone else who would like a chance to speak?
If not, I'd suggest making a motion to close the public hearing and a motion to,
I'll
Adopt
make a
the
motion
resolution.
that we close the public hearing.
Thank you. Second?
I'll go ahead and second that.
Does that require a vote? I think so. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you to everyone who shared their thoughts with us this evening. At this point, I'd like to move forward to item 5.2, adopt confirmatory resolution confirming the declaratory resolution and plan. So we have, thank you, RDC resolution number 100522A, confirming declaratory resolution establishing allocation area and economic development plan 2002, Bakovic bond issue. Are there any comments from the committee?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve 100522A.
Do I have a second?
I'll go ahead and second it.
Any other comments? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. With that approval, we move on to item 5.3, adopt resolution pledging TIF revenues from allocation area to bonds to be issued by town, Indiana Code 36-7-14-17. This is resolution number, or RDC resolution number 100522B, pledging tax increment for the 2022 Bakovic bond issue. Is there any comments from the committee about this resolution? Discussion? If not, can I receive a motion?
We'll go ahead and motion to approve the bond.
I'll
Okay.
second that motion.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, can I have everyone indicate approval by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. With that, I think we've reached the end of our agenda. Mine's blank on the back, so I don't know.
So I think we need a
Yes, we
motion
need a
to
motion
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
I'll go ahead and second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you everyone for your time this evening.
Thank you.